Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a tool that is absolutely flipping the script on how we reverse engineer APIs, Anything Analyzer. Specifically, we're going to look at how its built-in Model Context Protocol, or MCP server, is taking what used to be a highly manual, tedious process and making it completely autonomous.
Now, what if an AI could drive your entire API debugging workflow completely autonomously? I mean, think about it. Imagine taking the manual drudgery out of clicking through endless auth flows, capturing traffic, parsing through raw JSON, and just handing the keys over to an AI agent. That is exactly the reality we're unpacking today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the roadmap for the automator's journey we're about to explore. 1. The debugging problem. 2. Capturing traffic from anywhere. 3. Smart AI protocol analysis. 4. The Claude Code integration. And 5. Real-world limitations. Starting off with Section 1, the debugging problem, or, as I like to call it, the pain of fragmentation.
Look, we all know the current debugging stack is a fragmented mess, right? You know the drill. You're using dev tools for the browser, maybe dragging Fiddler or Charles in for proxies, and Wireshark for raw packets, which, by the way, won't even touch HTTPS. You end up staring at hundreds of raw requests. But Anything Analyzer changes that. It's one single Electron desktop app unifying your capture, session management, and AI analysis. It takes all that chaos and routes it into one incredibly elegant workflow.
Moving to Section 2, capturing traffic from anywhere and unifying your sessions.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the tool actually grabs all that fragmented traffic. If it's web traffic, like OAuth or front-end crypto, it just uses its own embedded browser. Super easy. For desktop stuff like Postman, curl, or Python scripts, it spins up a local man-in-the-middle proxy on port 8888, hooking in with environment variables. And for mobile app reverse engineering, same deal. Just point your phone's Wi-Fi to that proxy. Suddenly, everything is funneled into one unified session. Of course, intercepting HTTPS means you do need to do a little technical setup. You'll need admin or sudo privileges for the initial install to set up the CA cert, but for the security conscious among us, don't worry. Those certs are generated and stored entirely locally with a 10-year root validity. Plus, it's a strictly read-only capture, so it's not going to modify your payloads. It just watches and it automatically groups everything by domain for you. Section 3, Smart AI Protocol Analysis. Making sense of the noise.
Now, you might be wondering, does it just dump hundreds of raw requests into an LLM? No way. That would be a massive waste of tokens and money. It actually uses a highly efficient two-phase pipeline. Step 1 is smart filtering. The second your session hits 20 requests, it automatically strips out the static junk and tracking noise. Then, in Step 2, deep analysis kicks in. The AI zeroes in on the relevant stuff, pulling the full payload details strictly on demand. Once it has that data, you can fire off 5 distinct types of reports. Auto gives you a general breakdown. API Reverse extracts endpoint docs, auth flows, and even writes Python reproduction code for you. Security Audit hunts for token leaks and XSS risks. Performance checks request timing. And my personal favorite, JS Encryption Reverse. Because Anything Analyzer can automatically inject JavaScript hooks, the AI will literally identify encryption algorithms, reconstruct the flow, and hand you the Python implementation. A real game changer for encrypted payloads.
All right, Section 4, the Claude Code integration. This is where the MCP magic happens.
To really get why this is so cool, we have to talk about the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Anything Analyzer plays a dual role here. Sure, it's an MCP client that can ping external databases for its own reports, but the real magic is that it acts as an MCP server. It exposes its capture and browser capabilities over streamable HTTP to external AI agents, like Claude Code. You are literally giving the LLM hands and eyes to operate your debugging tools.
So just how much control are we handing over? 17. That is the exact number of tools exposed directly to the AI agent.
What's really interesting about these tool categories is how much agency they provide. You've got session management, stuff like create session, start capture, stop capture. Then you have browser control, navigate, screenshot, click element, execute JS. You get the idea. Because these are wired up via MCP, Claude Code can spin up an isolated browser tab, browse the web, click buttons, fill out forms, and capture the network traffic entirely on its own. Look, Ma, no hands.
And you'd think setting this up would be a nightmare, right? Nope. It's incredibly simple. Just a tiny JSON block in your Claude Code MCP server's config. You name it anything analyzer, set the type to streamable HTTP, point it to the local port, and drop in a bearer token. Boom, you're fully wired up. That's the whole shebang. Which leads us to this quote from the docs, and I absolutely love this. An AI agent can create a session, navigate to a target URL, click through auth flows, start capture, interact with the page, stop capture, and trigger analysis end-to-end without human intervention. Seriously, take a second to process that. The AI is doing the entire heavy lifting of reverse engineering for you.
Okay, Section 5, Real-World Limitations. Let's ground the excitement for just a minute.
Let's be real, no tool is perfect, and there are practical constraints you need to know. First, there's a 1 megabyte body cap, so large file uploads or binary responses get truncated. Second, website traffic is tunneled through the proxy, but it's not fully decrypted and structured for you. Third, this is strictly a single machine local proxy setup. Fourth, there's no built-in replay runner. It generates the Python code for you, but you have to run it yourself. And finally, keep an eye on your token usage. Running two-phase deep analysis on massive sessions will rack up a bill. Knowing these constraints up front is absolutely crucial.
So, there you have it for this explainer. The fragmented nightmare of API debugging is finally being smoothed out by unified capture, smart filtering, and that absolutely killer MCP integration. I highly recommend checking out their GitHub releases, plugging in your API keys, and building your own autonomous workflows. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Your AI agent is ready to reverse engineer. The question is, are you?